I mentioned to you right in the beginning that this is an industry which has got $2.5 billion of debt, right? $2.5 billion of debt, and this is after calculating the 63,000 crores which has just come into the government exchequer. And that is on the back of, actually speaking, 3 auctions, or 3 auctions in 3 circles, let me put it that way. Mumbai, Kolkata, and Delhi. The others were actually a spillover from the previous amount which didn't get sold, right, at that price. And since the reserve price was revised, it suddenly began to make sense. Next year, we're going to have auctions for 19 service areas. Now, I'm sure there's somebody in the DOT who's already licking his chops and thinking to himself, 63,000? I bet I can better it. But I would urge them to come and hear the suggested alternate theories to spectrum, because I don't think the industry has the ability, capacity, or has the bandwidth, and I'm using this in a very broad sense, to be able to put up that chunk of change again next year without going completely broken asunder. People will do it. Because the interesting thing about this is, when you've got 7 billion rupees of gross block sitting out there, you have to protect your existing investment. But you will go out and do it, and you will go back to the banks. You don't have the revenue stream to be able to cover it, and it's going to become tough. So, a word of caution, we desperately need spectrum, but we need it at the right price. And which is why the theoretical perception and then the presentation made by Professor Sen before me was so timely. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee, for that very perceptive view from the industry. I now call upon our final speaker, Mr. Kaur.
Thank you, Abhijit. Good afternoon, everybody. See, I have a difficult challenge before me. As you might have already understood, that spectrum is a very difficult topic to discuss. It's actually very complex. And when you bring it to the high level, right, and you kind of talk high level about the various issues that you're facing, most of the people generally are aware of those issues. So the problem is to manage the complexity versus triviality, right? So what I'm trying to do in my presentation is trying to take a logical path, right, presenting before you some data that we have analyzed, and then point to specific solutions, what the government needs to do in order to manage the complex situations that you might have already heard from the earlier speakers. So what I'm trying to do here is, this is the preview of the presentation. So basically the topic of the day is managing spectrum auctions, and this is specifically designed for the Indian market. So I'm not drawing any global comparison here. There is no global comparison, because when you do global comparison, you always do apple to orange comparisons, which is basically not true for the Indian market. You'll always come with different kind of contradictions or different kind of arguments that India is a different market. So it's purely a local analysis of the situation. So what we are doing is, we are saying that what are the role of auction in spectrum management, understanding the demand of spectrum, experience with recent auction, estimating future demand of spectrum, spectrum available for auctions, importance of harmonized spectrum. It's not about any spectrum, and releasing, how to release harmonized spectrum, and the key takeaways. Now, you already heard about managing spectrum auction and the various theories available regarding managing spectrum auction. But one of the fundamental issue about spectrum management is managing demand and supply, right? So if the demand is higher than the supply, then there is no other way to assign resources other than to do auctions. There is no other way to do that, because then you are going to have an issue with transparency of processes, because if you are going to assign resources which has a large amount of demand, there is no way to assign these in a transparent fashion. Then how do you do optimal price discovery? It becomes very difficult. The auction is the only way. And then auction ensures efficient usage by winners. And then there has to be a flexible need-based buying. It cannot be forced buying, right? So you have to be flexible need-based buying. There has to be other options. Otherwise, all theories which we talk about will fail. If you do not have other options of managing or getting those resources, right, then all the mathematical models are going to fail. Now, what is this called understanding demand of spectrum? Now, it is very important to understand that we are talking about we need more spectrum, we need more spectrum. Why do we need more spectrum? So if you look at this particular chart, this particular table right here, you'll notice that this is basically a clear-cut estimation based on real data on the networks as to how let me just take my pointer. I think that will be much more easier to. What is the pointer on that? Oh, no problem. This is the pointer. So this is basically the curve. You see here, this exponential curve is the growth of data in the networks, all data in petabytes here, and this is the voice growth. So you'll imagine here, if you look at this data, you'll see that data is growing exponentially in the networks, right? And in India also, we are seeing the same experience. That this is basically the hits on the various kinds of devices. One is the desktop hits, right, internet hits, another is the mobile hit. So you will see, it's not the estimation of total data on the mobile phone, by the way, but it is a number of hits. So you will see this already crossed. So what basically we are trying to say here is that mobile data is highly addictive, right, and consumes more spectrum for a similar kind of service that you're going to provide to the consumer. Now, this is basically on the recent auction. This is a very important chart to understand, right? What caused high bids for spectrum? Now, this is 2010 auction, and this is 2014 auction. Now, let me explain to you what the color combination here is. The color combination basically shows that the white color is market leaders rank 1 and 2. And the other color is market leaders other than 1 and 2, right? So you see, in 2010 auction, most of the spectrum was actually taken by the market challengers, right? Why? Why the market challengers took most of the spectrum, right? This is very important to understand. The reason that they took more spectrum in 2010, because at that time, the market was not broken, right? It was believed that the spectrum is going to be used as a competitive tool, right, to gain market leadership. So, and there was very, very little spectrum available at that time. That resulted in higher price, almost you can say 4 to 5 times from the base price, the price increased in 2010. So it is less amount of slots, more number of bidders, and the perception that the spectrum can be used as a competitive tool, right? Now let's come to 2014, right? Let me explain to you the color combinations here. So this color, which is basically red here, basically tells you that the licenses are expiring, right? Either it will expire in December 2014 or will expire by 2016. So you'll notice here that this is a defensive auction. This was an offensive auction, this is a defensive auction, where all the places where the bidder has bid are the places where the licenses are expiring, right? So then the point which I'm trying to say is that whether there are any options available before the bidder, there was actually no options. The way the auctions have been designed, there has been no options available. So it's like operator perceived a threat to their business, right? And since the demand outstripped supply, that's why the price basically went up. So all auctions theory actually fail under these circumstances, how the auctions actually have been designed. Now let's talk about this particular chart. Now if you will see the financial numbers which Rajat basically pointed out. So what I've done is that I've actually created a summary of the numbers. Rajat talked about 2 lakh crores of revenue. I have only taken only 7 operators. I have basically calculated AGR, not the gross revenue, the adjusted gross revenue, which is 1 lakh crores of rupees. Now, for all the 7 operators, excluding BWS spectrum for BSNL, and I have not taken RIL here because RIL is not contributing to revenue right now. So you'll see that total spend is 1,21,000 crores, right? Now, which basically translates to 18.67% of the AGR, the growth. And what is the growth of revenues, right? The growth of revenues only 5.46%. This is the average growth of AGR, right? And this is basically called the spectrum carrying cost. So this is very important to understand. The spectrum carrying cost, how did they calculate the spectrum carrying cost? The spectrum carrying cost has been calculated on the basis of the assumption that there is a depreciation cost of 5% and the interest, right, or capital cost of 10%. So it's like 18.67% is the total spectrum cost versus an AGR growth of 5.4946%, which basically means that the AGR growth is not even close to the spectrum carrying cost, right? And we have many more auctions to come. So operator, right, what the options are there before the operator? The operator can either increase their revenue. So every revenue has to increase from this number, right, whatever the number that you are seeing here, which is 18,199 crores, to a number probably 40,000 crores, right, or something more, right? Or we have to actually have a next, find a new data revenue stream, right, which is significantly more than what we see in the voice revenue. Or you decrease your operational cost. Now you have to decide how do you decrease your operational cost where you already have so much amount of investment already down there, and you cannot shut off base stations, right? The base stations is the biggest component of operating cost, right? So this is the problem that we are facing. This is the financial problem. Now, this chart basically calculates the future demand for data spectrum. Now, this is basically an exact calculation of all the three market leaders, right? It is not an estimation, by the way. So what we have done here, if you look at the color combination, the green are the areas where operator has at least 10 megahertz of data spectrum. Because in order to be competitive in the data market, you should have at least 10 megahertz of data spectrum. That's why we are basically pointing this circles as green. And rest of the areas where the operators do not have 10 megahertz of data spectrum. So what we have basically done is we have dissected the total quantum of spectrum of all the operators into voice and data. And the voice is this particular column, this is the voice column, and this is the data column. So you'll notice that the operators do not have sufficient amount of data spectrum. Most of the operators, the market leaders, do not have sufficient data spectrum. So basically, if you calculate this, you'll see that three market leaders alone needs 400 megahertz of pan-India if you assume that they need 10 megahertz of data spectrum for spectrum for data. Now, what is available for future in future auction? Because this is basically the timeline when the licenses are expiring. So you have already heard that there will be a next auction, right, as soon as this set of licenses expire. So you'll see around 244 megahertz of spectrum is going to come up for next auction, which is roughly around 250 megahertz. But you have only 400 you need 400 megahertz. So there is a huge demand and supply. And this part of the table basically points out to the total amount of money the operator has to shell out in order to meet their 10 megahertz demand. So the Airtel has to spell out around 10,000 crores, Vodafone has to spell out around 12,000 crores, and Idea has to 18,000 crores. Now the problem is that this number is based on the last discovered price. Now, if you have a demand-supply mismatch, do you think that you will be able to meet this number? Will this number is going to be valid? No, it's going to probably go 60,000 crores, or it may go to 80,000 crores. Right? Now we are basically talking about here in this chart, what is harmonized spectrum? We know that we need more spectrum. But any spectrum is not going to do, will serve the purpose, because we have to learn from our past experience. Now here you see that what drove exponential 2G voice services. This is very important to understand that 2G, we used only two spectrum bands, 900 and 1800 megahertz band. Right? And you will see the global harmonization of 900 megahertz and 1800 megahertz band, which basically tells you that this is a simple band structure. When you have simple band structure, the devices are very, very simple to produce. There is no complexity in the device. So device price goes down, right? And you have a huge volume of growth taking place. So GSM actually grew just because you had global harmonization of spectrum you used in India, and the device prices actually were low because of simple band structure. So basically, affordable handset driven by simple band structure of globally harmonized 2G spectrum led to huge amount of 2G growth. So we have to learn from our past experience. Now this is basically gives you a flavor as to which band are harmonized for mobile broadband. Now if you look at this particular part of the slide, you'll notice that what we have done here, we have drawn a pyramid. It is telling you that it's bottom heavy, which basically means 50% of the subscribers are using devices which are $50 and less. So what basically you're trying to say, that unless and until you have bands, spectrum bands, capable of delivering prices which are less than $50, you will not be able to meet the expectation of the consumers, right? Now look at this particular part of the chart. You will see here that what I've done, I have basically taken out all the major spectrum bands. There's a 700 megahertz spectrum band, these are the US bands. This is the India band structure. Then you have the 1800 megahertz band. Then we have the 2300 megahertz band, then 900 and 2100. So these are the major spectrum bands for data services. Now this particular color tells you that the phones at the certain price point available in this band, the price points are this. Let me just, so this is the price point, you see. So $50, $50 to $100, then $100 to $200, then $200 to $400 like that. So you'll see that these are the price points which are available in this band, which is the US band. This is the price point the phones are available, so there nothing is available down below, right? Similarly, the India 700, nothing is available, right? Worldwide. There's nothing available. Zero, right? 1800, the prices are going down, right? 2300, we have one device of Lava available in this particular block. The most harmonized spectrum band is 900 and 2100 megahertz. So you'll see that then for 2100, devices are actually available at roughly around $50 to $100 to $50 price point. So this basically tells you that these are the spectrum bands we need to focus on. You cannot be just opening up any spectrum band. It's not going to have any purpose when you are spending so much amount of money, right? So 900, 1800, 2200 megahertz band are globally harmonized and will drive affordable smartphones. Now, how do we release spectrum in the 2200 megahertz band? Now, this particular point has been discussed so many times. Now, what we did, we found it so difficult to explain this particular problem. We have now animation before you, so you'll understand. This is the existing assignment between defense and commercial spectrum. So the green portions are defense and these are the commercial blocks, right? And I'm going to show you an animation how you can actually make more 2100 megahertz spectrum available. This is 25 megahertz of spectrum and I have to increase it beyond a certain number, right? Beyond 25 number. So this is the animation before you. So you understand that if you propose this particular formula or whatever you call it, you will end up getting additional 3 slots, which is equal to what got auctioned in 2010. See, this is all coming. This is all same. Nothing has changed, right? The changes will be here. So so you have to basically, the commercial people will give the spectrum to defense here. Then the defense guys are going to give spectrum to commercial guys here, and this spectrum block will be given to defense. So you will increasing your total spectrum tally of 2.1 gigahertz from 25 megahertz to 40 megahertz. And this is a very simple plan to implement, because if you implement this, then you will have contiguous spectrum for defense. Defense is getting 79 megahertz of spectrum. Here, this is all fragmented defense band. It's very easily, this can be implemented. So you can actually have 100%, roughly 100% more spectrum for 2.1 gigahertz band in the next auction, if we follow this approach. Now, the other spectrum band we talked about is the 1800 megahertz band. Now, this is a very, very complex spectrum. It's very difficult to understand this particular spectrum band. The reason this particular spectrum band has become complex is because of defense assignment, and it's a very patchwork kind of assignment of spectrum to the commercial operators. Now, even in this auction, the spectrum has not been assigned in a contiguous fashion. So let me give you an example. This is RIL. The RIL has got 5 megahertz contiguous block here, and then here is another patch of some 0.4 megahertz here. Then you have Bharti here, which has got contiguous here, and then there's some fragmented spectrum assigned here. So in order to convert their spectrum to contiguous blocks so that they can be used for data, you have to do a lot of rearrangement of this particular spectrum band. This is one part of the problem. The other part is that this block, which is a 75 megahertz spectrum block, which is 1800 megahertz band, has been divided into 2 chunks. One is 55 megahertz commercial spectrum, another is 20 megahertz for defense. Now, defense is sitting in the commercial block, the commercial players are sitting in the defense block. Now, this rearrangement also has to happen. Unless you rearrange this particular spectrum from defense getting out of this block from here and the commercial players coming here, you will never be able to implement this, what I told you right now, right? But if you do that, what do you get? You get these many slots. This has been clearly, this is our estimate. We have estimated these many slots. So you have 3 slots from 2.1, and you probably will have around 2 to 3 slots from 1800 megahertz band if you follow this approach, what we are suggesting. So rearrangement of 1800 megahertz band can create additional block of contiguous spectrum. Now we already have spoken about spectrum trading and sharing. Now, this chart is almost similar to what Rajat spoke. What I've done here, I have basically estimated spectrum density for the various operators, right? This table gives you the data. So Airtel has got 0.83, Vodafone 0.7, Idea has got 0.67, then MTNL BSL 0.27, which is million per megahertz. So this is how the spectrum density is. Then what I've done is I've taken Airtel as a base and then trying to calculate the percentage usage compared to Airtel. So you see that so many operators have opportunity to share and trade spectrum. The amount of investment, which I told you in the beginning part of the presentation, on spectrum alone, I'm not taking capex, nothing else, and also not taken any future spectrum which the operator has to pay. And not also, I have not taken into account the one-time payment that they have to do. This is so huge that this is criminal waste of spectrum. It's a complete criminal waste of spectrum. So you have made investment, but you are not able to, and the leaders, the market leaders are actually congested, and the market challengers do not have the opportunity to share and trade spectrum, right? So sharing and trading spectrum can unlock a huge value of investment and stabilize spectrum price. So these are the key takeaways. We need more harmonized spectrum for data. Spectrum available through expired license is grossly inadequate. Swapping proposal can enable 3 slots of 2 into 5 megahertz of 3G spectrum. Harmonized spectrum in 1800 megahertz can create more 4G spectrum. And we need to manage future spectrum auction. It cannot be, a situation that the operators do not have any other options available. It's the end of the day, right, for the operators. We need to give the operators to buy spectrum from the open market, right, so that they have an option. They participate in the bidding process as a conscious player, rather than, if you don't participate in this particular bidding, then it is all over for them, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Parag. Rajat, how much time should we have for... Okay, so let's throw this open for questions and discussion, and I will also reserve the chair's right to make some observations from time to time if necessary.
Wow. Tour de force. There were so many great presentations there. I just had one comment. I'm just going to try to link a couple of things. First of all, I think Mr. Mukherjee was probably prematurely thanking Mr. Sen for his analysis, because I think that Mr. Sen's analysis would suggest that the government do basically what it has been doing, and you would find that the spectrum results would not be in your favor. And better to listen to Mr. Carr and his conclusions. But the point is, what we found is that in these presentations is the valuation that is driving the bids are not homogeneous, being driven by different kinds of conditions for different operators. So a valuation that's that's based on survival, that is, am I going to be able to stay in the market, is very different than a bid that's based on an incremental increase in your radio network. And this is where I think government policy has to be much more sophisticated in its auction design, that different players are going to be in very different positions, and in order to promote competition, or if one has an opinion about market structure that's more or less optimal for the future, one has to take something much more sophisticated into consideration. So I guess my question is whether, it's to Mr. Sen, I think, whether economic theory at this point has gotten to a subset of the research on auction design, has looked at varying valuations and sort of non-homogeneous buyer sets and what the results, whether they